Hey, well, hello there. Hey, if you wanted to learn about building card houses, this is a great video to watch. Come on in and check it out. In this video, you will see a demonstration on building card houses, followed by tricks and tips, so you can get started on building your own house of cards. Building with cards is basically leaning one card against another, forming a three-dimensional structure. And then when you add a horizontal element, it really ties it all together and creates a stable form. What's interesting about cards is they can be either set on their side or set upright. And a lot of the same building techniques can be used, and it results in a little taller situation. And you can even combine the two, creating a high-low effect with a terrace or balcony. There's another way to build, and that's with the A-frame. It starts by leaning two cards against each other, and then adding a back card and a top card. And a lot of different building parts can be made like that. Here's an interesting cottage you can build. It starts with a central A-frame. It has these extended side walls. And end walls. And that creates two rooms inside. And you add a ceiling. And this is the cool part. It actually has a pitched roof. And that's a cute little cottage. And then you can add cards setting flat on the table, creating a patio or even a walkway. And that's a nice effect. There's another card house I'll show you, and I'll make this one out of baseball cards. It starts with two low A-frames facing each other. Now, cards weigh very little, and sometimes they're only touching on 1 or 2 points. So it takes a steady hand and a light touch to place a card where it should go. Here goes the center V section. And I'll put this card in to stabilize the V. And this house also has the very cool pitched roof. And that's a pretty nice house. You can add to it, maybe make a courtyard or entrance. And there you have it. And now for some tips and tricks on building card houses. For starters, you're going to want to build your house on a good surface. A shiny surface is too slippery. You want one that kind of grabs a little. You also want to use an old deck, one that's beat up and kind of roughed up, and not a brand new one that's slippery. In fact, I would dedicate a couple of decks to building houses by spraying the edges with spray glue, setting them out to dry. Now, you don't want to spray so much glue that they stick together. You still want to be able to pick them up one at a time. Another thing you can do to the deck is to beat the edge with a stone, and that creates a roughed edge and gives you a lot more friction there. Playing cards come in two sizes. You have the poker deck and the more narrow bridge deck. The bridge deck would give you a more slender building. I found that baseball cards, especially vintage ones, are great for building houses. They're thicker, they weigh more, They'll create a more stable building. And picking a card up by dragging it to the edge of a table is a lot easier than picking it directly up off the table. Here's a little trick. If you fold the card in half, it becomes a little pitched roof that kind of adds a architectural effect. If you're wanting to make a sturdy part of your building, say like the foundation, you can double up the cards. Makes them a little bit stronger. If you're having trouble with the cards sliding out or slipping, you can moisten the end, and that will give it a better grip. You can have the cards facing inward or outward, depending on how you want it to look. You could try making a tower or a pagoda. This one went up 5 stories. Or any number of innovative and creative architectural designs. Building with cards is an old-time pastime and somewhat pleasurable activity.